Welcome back once again to Trackside Live. Caleb Keller here in the TVG studios in Los Angeles. And you heard Mike Joyce mentioning before the break that last year's Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner, Goldencents, going to take on the boys there in the turf, and most notably, Wise Dan. And guys, it's an interesting decision. And one thing that I have to say is that Doug O'Neill's always been a trainer that's been willing to roll the dice. A little bit of gamesmanship here. There's obviously a lot of risk involved, but I think it's an interesting move.
I think it's a great move, to be honest with you. Interesting in a good way. I want to see the showdown for sure. Wise Dan was as game as he's ever been in the Bernard Baruch. Just a little bit off a track record there at his first start after colic surgery and whatnot. I think he answered some of the questions, if not all of the questions, about whether or not he could return to that peak form. He's real close to it. He's going to go into a race that he's been dominant in over the years it stayed on the turf. And I just think Goldencents so talented. Why not? Why not? What have you got to lose? I mean, if you win, it's immortality.
And he's also a horse, we'll take a look at his work over turf. He's never been over the surface, but also what goes into this is a horse who obviously has run so well over the synthetic surface.
Yes.
At Del Mar. That's definitely part of it. And this is from Rafael Bejarano at Santa Anita this morning. Rafael riding out here at Los Al. And, you know, so part of it is the success he's had over the synthetic, Mike. The other part of it is, whether it's right or not, I think people out there feel that Wise Dan is vulnerable right now. And, you know, as good as he looked in winning the Baruch, he did beat Optimizer by an inch in that race, who hasn't won in a long time. And the other thing for Goldencents is, it's the distance, it's the mile. This is his best distance.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't go here, where's he going to go on dirt? What's he going to do before the Breeders' Cup? So you run on turf if he loves the grass, and we know he likes the distance. All you do is open up your options a little bit, and there's really not another spot for him at a mile that makes a lot of sense right now unless they ship out east.
That, and I just think it's game. I think the connections think that Goldencents deserves this shot. I think he deserves a shot to run against the best. He's done so much. Think about his career, and think about how crazy it is. He was on the Derby Trail. He was one of the brightest prospects here in Southern California, and then they turn him into a sprinter, and then from a sprinter, they turn him into a Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner, and Caleb Keller is standing by with some comments from the Doug O'Neill camp after that work. And what do they think of that turf work this morning?
Well, we'll actually take a look for ourselves on a tweet that the Doug O'Neill, Team O'Neill, I guess if you will, sent out earlier today. It says, this was his first time on grass, and Rafael said he shied a bit around the cones and was looking at the grass in front of him. Not surprising, as he is a very intelligent horse, that he noticed a new surface. Taking on a champ like Wise Dan, we would probably want to work him one more time. So that's coming right from the Doug O'Neill Twitter account, and certainly some good insight there. So interested to see, and guys, it's just going to add to that premier event, which I believe this year is going to be $1 million Shadwell Turf Mile. You might as well have another star to be in the mix.
Do you think he deserves to be on the turf?
Do I think he deserves to be on turf? I mean, look, a lot of great horses have taken their chance at Wise Dan and have fallen short. I think he's got the class. I honestly do. I thought that in the Dirt Mile, when we did the work show last year, I think everybody gave him an A+ work, and he was just working so brilliantly. And do I really see him beating Wise Dan? I don't know. That's going to be tough. I mean, you look at the history of everybody trying to take their shot at Wise Dan. I can't necessarily say that I would book the bet, but it's going to certainly make for a much more intriguing race, because if there's no Goldencents, who's going to be the big name to really take on Wise Dan?
All right, Caleb, I'm going to ask you this because you know more about turf breeding than I do, but what does this say to you with the Into Mischief on the top side and that mare Golden Works on the bottom side? Do you think Goldencents has the pedigree to win on the turf?
I don't necessarily
know.
know.
I mean, again, talking to my wife, Ren, who happens to be a pedigree geek, but, by her own right, there's not a lot of grass pedigree here, really. I think you get back into maybe the third generation. I think you start getting some turf pedigree here, but Into Mischief was a sprinter, 7 furlong mile type on the synthetic. On the bottom, you don't really have a ton of it. But again, he seems like he's a versatile racehorse. The other problem, though, Caleb, for Goldencents, it's not just about, Wise Dan and Goldencents. You have Seek again, who looked really good winning the 4-star Dave. And then you have Silver Max, who, as Mike was telling me during the last commercial break, reminding me, won this race a year ago in a race that was taken off the turf, who's lightning fast. Silver Max could be a major problem for Goldencents early in the race.
Yeah, Maddie, I think the key name there was Seek Again, because when you look at the race, Wise Dan's always been tactical. You take a look at the fact that you got to imagine that Goldencents is going to be up and close to the lead. We saw Silvermax wire the field last year. So to me, that really leaves Seek Again as the horse that could have a big chance to upset him. But here, once again, is the pedigree tree. Goldencents being by Into Mischief, coming from the very talented bloodlines. I know that Beholder is actually coming from the direct sire line there of Into Mischief. I believe Beholder might be a half to Into Mischief, so just great bloodlines all around. My only, it's not necessarily the turf, it's more about the two-turn distance in terms of Into Mischief, because when you think of Into Mischief, you think of Goldencents, you think of Vijack, and you think of Vickers and Trouble, horses that have a lot of really good speed, and sometimes they can stretch it out to 2 turns, but it's usually on the front end. So a lot of questions, but no matter what, I got to tip my cap there to Doug O'Neill for shipping out to Keeneland and taking on the champ that is Wise Dan. So good discussion there, and we got to ask you, does it make sense? Tweet us in at TVG, hashtag makes sense, or doesn't make sense. You can use at Caleb TVG or at TV's Mike Joyce as well. So just a big name to look forward to coming up at the Keeneland meet. Goldencents hoping to get another